This is a question that almost no one has the courage to truly ask, because it dismantles the comfortable narrative that something will still happen in the future, when everything is aligned, resolved, or perfect. Reality does not respond later. It responds now. And if your life has not changed yet, that does not mean you are blocked, delayed, or doing something wrong. It simply means that the now you are emitting is still the same. Not the now you wish to feel sometimes, but the now you sustain when you are not trying to change anything. As long as this point is not seen clearly, the person keeps waiting for an external shift that never comes. When it is seen, something begins to move immediately. 1. Current awareness, the now you are really emitting. The first adjustment is not spiritual, emotional, or technical. It is perceptual. The now is not what you occasionally think when you remember to change your life. The now is the internal state that repeats itself throughout the day, especially in neutral moments. The now is not desire. It is internal habit. Reality responds to the dominant state, not to occasional desire. You may desire something new in the morning, visualize at night, but if throughout the entire day you sustain tension, haste, self-criticism, or a sense of being behind, that is the signal being emitted consistently. Your internal pattern speaks louder than your declared intentions. This is not punishment, it is functioning. Reality does not interpret internal discourse, it responds to the frequency that repeats. And repeated frequency does not come from conscious effort, it comes from emotional habit. That is why so many people feel they are doing everything right and still see no change. Because they are looking at what they think when they try to change, and not at what they feel when they are simply living. Change begins when you perceive the signal you are already sending. This moment is uncomfortable, but liberating, because you stop waiting for something external to change first and begin to realize that the now you sustain is already an active command. It does not need to be fought, it needs to be recognized. Recognition is not judgment, it is clarity. And clarity changes the game. 2. Mental focus, where your attention is fixating. After perceiving the real now, the second point becomes inevitable. Focus, not forced, positive, or motivational focus, but the automatic attention your mind sustains without you noticing. Thinking about the problem keeps you in the frequency of the problem. This is not negative thinking, it is continuity. Every time your attention returns to the same point, even in the form of analysis, attempts at solutions, or silent complaints, you keep the field active in that scenario. Repeated focus creates continuity, not rupture. The mind does not understand intention to change when attention remains fixed in the same place. It understands familiarity, and what is familiar tends to repeat. The mind directs energy even when you are not aware of it. You do not need to think with emotion to keep something active. It is enough to mentally return to the same subject several times a day. This constant return is a silent command. Changing life requires redirecting attention, not fighting it. Fighting focus only reinforces the object of focus. Redirecting is different. It is noticing where your mind goes on its own and gently bringing it to another point, not to an idealized future, but to a more stable state in the now. When focus changes, experience begins to change. Not dramatically, consistently. 3. Predominant feeling. The language. Reality understands. Here is the point that connects everything. Thought directs. Focus maintains. But it is the predominant feeling that informs reality whether something is ready to exist. Recurring emotion becomes vibrational instruction. It is not intense emotion that creates. It is the emotion that repeats when nothing special is happening. The background sensation that accompanies your days. It may be mild anxiety, mild frustration, tired neutrality, or constant haste. Feeling lack generates more absence, even with good intentions. You may desire something new, but if the predominant feeling is lack, the field responds by expanding that absence. Not because it ignores your desire, but because it responds to the state being lived as real. The body confirms what you truly believe. Before the mind understands, the body already responds. Tension, short breathing, restlessness, constant fatigue are clear signs of the state being sustained. The body never lies about the now. Feeling before seeing is the real turning point. It is not pretending positive emotion, it is adjusting the predominant feeling to something more compatible with what you wish to live. Not euphoria, stability, not excitement, internal safety. When the feeling shifts by 1 degree, reality shifts by miles. This is the point where change begins to happen without announcement, without spectacle, because now the now you emit is no longer the same. 4. Internal alignment, the point where everything stops or moves. Here is the real reason why many things do not move, even when you really want them to. It is not lack of technique, it is not lack of effort, it is active internal contradiction. Wanting something does not mean being available for it. You may desire change but continue reacting like someone stuck in the old scenario. You may want expansion but operate in defense. You may want abundance but make decisions based on fear of loss. This creates 2 commands at the same time, and opposing commands do not move forward. Reality does not choose one of them. Say it pauses. Alignment is not forcing yourself to believe. It is stopping sustaining the opposite. When desire and state do not match, nothing flows. Not as punishment, by logic. Reality responds to lived coherence, not declared will. You do not unlock life by trying harder. You unlock it by stopping contradicting yourself. This adjustment is simple, but it requires honesty. A direct question, without drama. What I say I want, does it match how I am living now? If the answer is no, there is no mistake. There is only a clear point of adjustment. Alignment is adjustment, not sacrifice. You do not need to suffer more, wait more, or prove anything. You only need to stop feeding the state that does not match the result. When this contradiction falls, the body feels it first. Tension decreases. Haste disappears. The mind stops arguing. And that is when movement returns. Without extra effort. Without new technique. Without ritual. Just coherence. And here is a simple and powerful gesture. If this made sense to you now. Write in the comments a short sentence. Without explaining. Something like, I stop contradicting myself here. It is not for the video. It is to internally seal the adjustment you just recognized. This is the point where life starts moving again. 5. Inspired action. When movement flows again, after the internal contradiction falls, something very specific happens. Action returns, not as effort, not as obligation, as consequence. Forced action always comes from fear. Fear of standing still, fear of wasting time, fear of failure. That is why it exhausts. Inspired action comes from clarity. You do not need to push yourself. You simply know the next step. It does not come with anxiety. It does not come with mental noise. It comes with a simple feeling of, this makes sense now. The right action does not accelerate the heart. It organizes, and almost always it is smaller than the ego expects. A conversation, a simple decision, a cut, a course correction. But this step shifts the axis because it comes from the correct state. When the state changes, action appears. It is not you who creates the action. It is alignment that reveals movement. And when you act from this place, something important happens afterward. You feel more internal space, not more weight. This is the sign that the action was right. Doing less in the right state generates more results because it does not create resistance afterward. You do not need to fix, justify, or compensate. Life responds with continuity. Aligned action does not prove value, it confirms identity. And when identity is confirmed, reality follows. 6. Receiving. Where many still get stuck here is the point that most silently sabotates results. Many people even align, act correctly, see something begin to move, and freeze exactly at the moment of receiving. Because receiving requires letting go of control. Excessive control is not caution. It is insecurity disguised. When something starts to arrive and you enter vigilance, excessive analysis, or the need to understand everything first, the field closes, not because something was taken away, but because you yourself closed the door. Receiving does not require vigilance. It requires permission. Permission is trusting that you can handle whatever comes, even without knowing all the details. It is stopping the policing of the process, stopping the question, is this really it? Stopping the constant testing. Tense expectation repels. When you wait with tension, you are not open. You are in defensive observation. Receiving happens when the body is relaxed enough not to automatically reject what arrives. Relaxed trust accelerates. It is not blind faith. It is internal maturity. It is knowing that you do not need to control everything for it to work. When this trust appears, the flow remains. Receiving is not passivity. It is non-interference. Many answers arrive in ways that were not in the plan. An unexpected adjustment, a change of scenario, an ending that creates space. Those who are open recognize it. Those who are controlling reject it. Here is the final key to this point. The universe does not deliver to those who want it badly. It delivers to those who are available. 7. State maintenance, where life truly turns. Here is the point that separates those who understand from those who live the change. Creating a state is easy. Sustaining it is another story. Most people even align for a moment, have a good day, a sudden clarity, a real internal adjustment, but then automatically return to the old pattern. Not because they failed, but because the old state is still familiar. Reality responds to what you sustain, not to what you occasionally access. Elevated states must be inhabited, not visited. When you only enter them at specific moments, they do not become reference. And what does not become reference does not consolidate as reality. Returning to the old pattern undoes progress. Life simply follows the dominant state. If you adjust today, but tomorrow return to the same internal tone as before, the command has been altered again. Reality follows consistency, not intensity. It is not how strongly you felt. It is how well you remain stable when the day becomes ordinary. When something goes wrong. When delay or mild frustration appears. That is where the true state shows itself. Maintenance is not tense vigilance. It is conscious return. Noticed you left alignment. Return. Without fighting, without drama, without giving up. This repeated return is what transforms state into identity. When the state becomes identity, you no longer need to constantly correct yourself. The body recognizes it. The mind obeys. Life follows. This is the point where change stops being an attempt and becomes an internal position. Reality is already responding. It was never stopped. If your life has not changed yet, it is not bad luck, nor delay from the universe. It is simply the reflection of the state you still sustain while waiting. Not what you promised to be, not what you feel on good days, but what you maintain when nothing special is happening. When you stop contradicting yourself, act without forcing, receive without controlling, and sustain without oscillating. Life does not need to be convinced. It responds not with noise, not with spectacle, but with real reorganization. Nothing here requires more effort. It requires less interference. And if something in you fell silent while hearing this, do not ignore it. Silence is not doubt. It is alignment. Stay there. Do nothing with it. Just remain. When you remain, reality understands.